Welcome, everybody, to Utah Daily, a podcast where we interview the doers, thinkers, and achievers of Utah. My name is Skylar Bytendorp, and today I have Kristin Sokol. How do you say your last name?
Sokol.
Sokol.
Just
I should
like it
know that.
sounds. It's
Kristin
like, I remember
Sokol.
the first time I saw it, I was like, what? How do you pronounce that?
See, my last name is Bytendorp. I gave up trying to help people how to spell it. So
Mine's 2 syllables, but still somehow very
Sokol.
tricky. It's Czech.
Yeah.
It's from Eastern Europe, so we're
That's
not
cool.
super familiar
That's
with
cool.
that here.
I just tell people Byte when I say what my last name is,
Yeah.
and it's if they need more than that for like if they're gonna look at my driver's license,
Yes.
that's when I add more.
Yes.
But
That makes
anyway, everyone, Kristen is a dating coach expert. She is a certified science-based dating coach, actually, which is really cool. Tell me a little bit about being a science-based dating coach.
Hey, I would love to. So I actually started my career in journalism.
Okay.
And this was in I'm going to date myself, but this was back in the year 2003.
Okay.
I was working as a newspaper reporter, and my last single friend at that time got engaged to a guy that she met on Yahoo Singles, which that was, you're too young to know what that is, but OG. Back in the day, that was like Yahoo Personals was where online dating really found its like mainstream footing. So my friend, after getting engaged and I being a lone woman single in Utah, she created a profile for me against my will. And I cried about it on the couch while it was happening. And then I met my husband 3 weeks later.
No way.
Yes.
3 weeks later?
Yes. And I loved it. I loved online dating from the moment I hit the ground. After I got over the tears of shame and embarrassment that I was this desperate. Today we don't have that stigma, but back then we did. I was a newspaper reporter, so my skills were in writing, and I had never been like a flirt, or I was really good at friend zoning myself. That's how I knew to be social.
Mm-hmm.
And so I could be more flirty and more bold in writing on like these online dating opportunities. And boom, I met my guy, and I was glad that I met him, and I still am. But I was kind of sad that online dating for me was over because I loved it so much. So that's why I started finding other people who I could help.
Yeah.
And I found that my skills in not only writing, but being able to interview somebody and find out what was interesting about them and then be able to showcase that was very fun for me to do. And the first 3 people I worked with, boom, 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 all got married. And so I was like, maybe I'm a genius at this. So I started doing it more and more and had a little side hustle going. And then I promise I'm getting to this. How do you become a science-based date coach? It's a long
That's right. I like the build up.
Okay,
This
good.
is fun.
Okay, good. So one of the people who I'd been working with ended up marrying a gal who worked for a full service like matchmaking firm, and they had stylists and photographers and matchmakers, and but they weren't doing anything in the space of online. They were doing, focusing mostly on events and personal introductions.
Mm-hmm.
So I came in and added this whole line of service, and I worked there for about 2 years, and my boss was super generous and helped us a lot with professional development. And I really became aware that there was this whole industry that existed, not, outside of where my expertise and comfort level was, which was specifically with online. But I learned all kinds of things about the research-based insights about how dating works or doesn't work, and that there were people that were studying this. And I remember my boss went off to New York to speak at the Global Love Institute conference. And I just thought, boy, that is like magic. Like, who knew? Like, I've never really even been to New York City. That would be amazing. So she spoke there, and I became aware that it existed. And, over time, I discovered that working with people one-on-one, helping them overcome this thing that had been a real problem for me in my life, meeting the right person and being able to market yourself and attract the type of people that you really want to be with. That was always my issue. I learned how to solve it. I'd helped other people do it, time and time again. It was replicatable.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew at that point, 2 years in working with the matchmaking firm, that coaching one-on-one was my jam. And I also knew that there was specific like coaching type education that other real coaches had that I didn't have.
Yeah.
And so I actually left the matchmaking firm so I could be a full-time student. The University of Texas at Dallas has, as part of one of their master's degrees, a professional coaching certification. So I did that program. I got the certification, and then I joined the Global Love Institute, the place that my boss had spoken at, and started attending their conferences and found some really incredible mentors, read their books, developed a relationship with them. And one of my mentors that I met through the Global Love Institute, her name is Dr. Terry Orbach. She is a university professor in Michigan. She's a marriage and family therapist and is a dating coach, and is like, because she has done the academic research on it. So she has been involved with, or directing rather, a study that started as part of her postdoctoral work in 1986. So she's about 65 now. But in 1986, she started following 373 couples who all got married in 1986. And originally the study, which is funded by the National Institute of Health, so it's a big deal, it was funded for 4 years and named the Early Years of Marriage Study. And the insights that came out of that were so robust and so insightful that it got refunded for another 4 and another and another and another, and it's still ongoing. Yeah. So these same 373 couples are still being followed. Now they're in their mid-60s, and there's so much good research about what keeps people together and what makes them break apart prematurely. And I've learned a lot from it and her. And long story short, to answer your question specifically, she teaches a science-based date coaching certification course. So after I completed my graduate level certification in coaching, I did this certification too and got access to all the juicy details that most people just don't know or don't have about, especially compatibility over the long term. So in this study, 52% of these original couples are still married to each other. 48% have divorced. Most of that population who are divorced from their original partner are repartnered and have had long relationships there. And there's a lot that you can know about what keeps people together that is so relevant in the partner selection process. It changes and improves the way that we date and what we're looking for and what kinds of things we're doing and topics we're talking about during our date. So I hope that answers your question. I took the course, and Terry and I, Dr. Terry Orbach and I, have become friends over the years. I've been doing this for about 20 years now. I mean, This is not new for me. Over the years, I have, I think I'm probably, I don't want to brag, but I think I'm one of the most experienced date coaches anywhere. I don't know if there's anybody who coaches as much as I do one-on-one. Yeah. A lot of my colleagues that do what I do, will create a course and start scaling. And I don't know, I'm just kind of, I like keeping things small and personal. And so I work with, anywhere from 4 to sometimes 7 or 8 clients a day. And I've been doing this for over 10 years now. Wow. And I have kept up on all the latest research and trends. And Terry and I are actually collaborating. Every May, there's a conference in New York City where all the matchmakers and all the dating coaches, we meet and we train and we bring in experts and we, knowledge share, and we do a whole lot of collaboration. And we're adding another day to this conference that's coaching specific. A lot of it's focused on matching and matchmaking, which I do that too. But my primary love and focus and where I've seen tremendous results are from helping people fill their own knowledge gap of things that they just hadn't thought of, or conclusions that they made 20 years ago that really are not that true anymore, or don't apply, and helping them rethink and see some of those things. And then, boom, they find somebody that's great for them.
Yeah.
So I tend to lean towards favoring coaching over matchmaking, but I have 2 clients who I match-made this year and are getting married.
So what's the difference between matchmaking and like dating coaching?
Oh yeah,
You know,
that's
so
a
like
really good question.
because it's to me it almost sounds like the same thing. Like you're helping someone find a match, right?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
So okay, this is like a very nuanced question and one that I'm going to answer for you since we have time. How long are we going to record?
We're gonna go like 30 more minutes. Ish. Yeah.
So let me give you that answer then. Traditional matchmaking really is mostly a recruiting game, right? So if you're hiring a matchmaker, you are hiring them to bring you vetted individuals that fit your criteria of what you're looking for.
Okay.
Right? So you
almost like a real estate agent.
It is.
for
It's a
dating.
lot
Yeah.
like it.
I tell you, I want 5 bedrooms, 2
Yes.
baths,
Yes.
2-car garage. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Keep
And
going.
so when it's an expensive service, because if you're doing it ethically, it's very laborious, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're saying, let's say you want me to find you a match, and there, 50% of the world is women, right? So
Right.
how hard could it be? But you're only interested in women that fit in this probably 5-year age range.
Uh-huh.
And then you're only interested in women that are between this heights or have a physique that looks like X, right? And has this level of attractiveness. And on the inside, that matters too. It's not just about external factors. We want somebody that aligns with your values, and we want somebody who has done this with their career or has no kids. And then now we're talking about a very tight sliver.
And they have to be single.
And they have to be
taken,
single,
right?
and they have to like you.
Right.
So actually,
Man, yeah.
successfully matchmaking is much harder than it sounds. And I have colleagues that do a fantastic job, but they charge like $60,000 for a 3 or 6 month term of service. And that's on the more affordable end, if I'm being very real.
Really?
It's a very expensive service. Not to say there are some other that are more like the Costco of matchmaking.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they might have good results too, but it wouldn't be the same thing, and their results don't tend to be replicate, like they're not doing what the actual recruiters are doing.
Yeah.
I would say their matches aren't as vetted.
Yeah.
So typically when you have somebody who has that kind of money to spend, they don't have a lot of time, they're not super interested in really looking inward and doing a lot of like figuring out what's my part in this, like why has this become hard for me. So they're less, not always, but it's typical that they might be less interested in a lot of coaching. What they're really interested in is sourcing matches.
Yeah.
So when I take a client, I usually take a client
As like a coach?
as a dating coach.
Dating
Yes.
coach, okay.
So I really call myself an instructional matchmaker.
Okay.
And that's kind of new. I haven't really, like just in the last couple of years, have I really started to embrace my network as a matchmaker. But even now that I have a good one and I make matches all the time, I've done it several times this week. It's only Wednesday.
Yeah.
I still feel that you are your own best matchmaker, being you're inside your own consciousness. You know what you like when you see it, and you're with yourself all the time, right? I'm only focused on a client and matching them an hour a week or 5 hours a week. I mean, max. But you have an infinite number of time. And not only that, but the people who already know you, your friends and family, if they know what you're looking for, you can really turn them into referral sources if you know how to do that and sweeten the pot and how to motivate them into being and they know you better than I ever could. So they are going to be better at picking a match for you.
That makes a lot of sense too.
Right. Yeah. So my focus really has been on helping people figure out how to do that inside their own lives and inside their own heads. And I have found it to be tremendously successful. Like I don't mean to brag, but I have more clients getting married than any of my other colleagues that are, more focused on matchmaking. Yeah. And it's not because I'm amazing. It's because once we just make some of these key awarenesses that we just hadn't, and I'm not a genius or a rocket scientist. There's nothing magic about the formula that I'm using with clients, but I think just there's some magic in having some accountability and having some new strategy and having some new inspiration that just makes you see your world differently, and you can pick out opportunities that otherwise you definitely would have missed.
Yeah. Okay, I want to back up a little bit to where your friend got engaged and married, and she, against your will, created the online dating profile.
Yes.
Was your husband the first one you went out with?
Yes.
And you got extremely
lucky.
How often does that happen?
And it was not easy. I want you to know it was not easy.
Yeah.
It's funny because I reference my own thought patterns and my own challenges that I had. So I was definitely talking to multiple people. I remember I was talking to an airman at Hill Air Force Base, which I thought was super sexy cool.
Yeah.
I also was talking to some math teacher, and I'm historically horrible at math. So I thought, oh, that could be a good match for me because, that would balance me out.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was talking to some interesting people, and then I got a message from this guy, and I had this list of here's what I will never do. I will never talk to somebody that doesn't have a picture associated with their profile, right? Which back in 2003, not everybody had a digital camera. That was a very emerging technology, if you can believe that we lived in a world without them. But my friend was an aspiring photographer. She had one, and the cable that it took to connect it to a computer. So I had photos, and I thought the type of guy that I'm looking for is going to be ambitious, and he's going to do what it takes to have photos. So I'm not interested in talking to anybody that doesn't. I'm in Utah. I don't want to talk to anybody in another state. That sounds awful. And I'm also really concerned about I don't know, the internet has got to be full of losers and awkwardness and mental ill, whatever.
Yeah.
So I was really concerned about that. Or people that were living with their parents still, anyway, so I got this message from a guy with no photo. He lived in another state. And he didn't live with his parents, thank goodness, but he lived alone. And I'm a highly social person. So somebody living alone, I was like, what kind of psycho would in their 20s be living alone? So just a lot of things I said I would never, ever do. But I could tell that he had read my profile. And one of the things I had listed was that I had golf clubs in the trunk of my car. And so we started up a conversation because he was a golfer. He had questions for me. And it was very flattering. I could tell that he'd read my profile and had questions and took it in a couple different directions. So it was kind of a multifaceted conversation. And then I was kind of curious about what he was doing in California and who he was working for. And actually that was pretty impressive. And before I knew it, we were sending long emails back and forth to each other. And then we got on the phone. And then one of my brothers said, hey, I'm going to California in next week. We're going to watch Utah State play in the basketball tournament. You should come. And I was like, oh my gosh, I could meet this guy. And so it worked out. We met. I was not attracted to him, and he was 100% awkward. And we had a plan. He had a plan. And we were going to meet at the basketball arena after the game, and the team lost. And so everybody was disappointed. And as a flippant comment, my brother said, you two should just come with us. And he said, okay, because he didn't want to be like, I'm going to steal your sister.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, it was awkward. And I did not want to see him again. And I called my friend who'd created my profile. And she was like, you have to see him one more time. You're going to be there tomorrow. Anyway, don't do anything with your brother. Just go, and we ended up going on a second date, which I was not excited for. And boy, was I pleasantly surprised. We had so much in common, but it was more like a dimmer switch than a spark.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sometimes we shut down if we don't feel a spark.
Right.
But there's a lot of richness if you know how to access the switch that turns it on. So we've been married 22 years now.
Yeah. Well, and in my dating experience, just when like maybe there's someone super attractive and I'm like, oh, I'm so excited to go out with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get to know their personality. I'm like, you just got a whole lot uglier.
Yeah.
You know?
That's not it.
And then vice versa happens. It's like, we have so much in common. We flow really well. You're like 10 times more attractive to me now.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that's like kind of good advice and what you're talking about, where someone shouldn't like, don't judge them right away. Like actually get to know them. You do need to be attracted to them though.
You
right?
do. Yes.
Yeah.
The dimmer switch needs to turn up. Like we can't be
Mm-hmm.
engaged to or married to people that we find repulsive. Like that's not fair to anybody in the dynamic.
Yeah.
So, really, like some of the best advice I give to my clients. So here's a freebie for anybody that's listening to this who is single.
Let's hear it. Listen up, people.
If you find somebody who you have some alignment with and you have the ability to connect and you have some things in common, but it's not romantic for one or both of you, it's not all or nothing. And this is what I'm always trying to convince my clients of. If you find someone that's close but not it, the chances are that they know somebody that you don't know, or you know somebody they don't know. And if you don't, like the research says, you're going to meet somebody from a dating app and that's how you're going to find your spouse. But if you don't, the number 2 way is through a friend. And oftentimes it's casual friends, right? So and this resonates, right? Because like when people are looking for a job, it's rarely your best friend that points you to a job. It's somebody that you met at a networking event 6 months ago, and anyway, they heard you were looking, and that's how you get the connection. The same thing is true with your social life or your romantic social life, right? You went out with somebody 6 months ago. It wasn't a love connection, but you met again at a party and she was there with her friend and that was the one, right? So we have to be thinking of this not in terms of, shooting a straight arrow right into the center of the bullseye, but actually the whole target is useful.
Yeah. No, I love that. So, man, I have a couple questions for you. I want to make sure we get through everything, but first, man, I won't get through everything, but let's start with, you have a new database.
Yes,
Can you tell me about that?
Yes, I do. Okay, so database. This is something that most matchmakers have, and it's their greatest asset. I have never really been focused on matchmaking as a target, so I have never really organized my single Rolodex until now.
Like your clientele?
My clientele.
Okay.
Yes, my clientele. So I have taken all my files, which I have many. I have notes for every client. And I have brought on a new software partner. So this is a matchmaking specific software. So I have uploaded all my existing clientele that are still single, which, most of my people get married, but I am still working with many people who are not. So I've put them all in, and I have this free database now that anybody can join. And I mentioned at the beginning that a lot of the industry of matchmaking is about collaboration, right? So I have other matchmaking colleagues. Some are in Utah, some are around the country, and we can cross-pollinate our databases. And that's really why I have invested here in collecting profiles, because there's a good chance that if you create a good profile with excellent photos and you take the time to fill it out correctly, that you might get picked up and invited to meet a matchmaking client. Or another thing that this management system that I'm using is able to do is we can curate some events. So I actually have a singles events partner. I don't know if people have heard of it. It's grown a lot this year. It's called Singles Mingle Events.
Okay.
So we do everything from volleyball, sand volleyball, to karaoke. We've got a group going this weekend at Topgolf.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
It's so much
And that's how
fun.
you want to meet people, right? I feel like
In
just
real
these are
life.
more loose
Yes.
and
2026 is the in real life like movement.
yeah.
We've been moving that way. So singles mingle is like you might meet somebody who you could date and maybe fall in love with. But even if you don't, it's just fun to be a part of the community.
Yeah.
Like we'll get together at El Pollo Loco and play table games after eating burritos.
Mhm.
I have done and will do some like more curated speed dating type things. And you can't, if you're going to do speed dating in a way that people are going to like, you have to, it's an invitation only thing, right? Where we're doing this for the anime lovers crowd, or this for the Marvel fans, or this is a, an executive type event, or, so you have to do an invitation only, kind of curate that list. And having my database helps me to send invitations to people who fit the demographic that we're trying to fill. So that's another reason why people would want. So anybody can join it. It doesn't cost anything. It'll take you, a good 20 minutes to do well. But they can find it on my website. It's very easy to access.
Okay, awesome. And we'll have a link down in the show notes for anyone that wants to access that.
Yeah.
So if you're listening right now and you want to know where to do that, go click down in the show notes.
Or you have a friend, you want them to have one.
Or a friend, copy the
send
link,
them to
send it
it.
over to
Yeah.
them. Exactly.
Yeah.
No, that sounds great. So and these are like weekly events that you're doing with singles
I would
monthly,
say twice a month.
twice a month.
Yeah, sometimes.
That sounds
twice a
good. Where
month.
it's not like too often, but it's happening enough where you can meet people.
Yes.
But not so often where people are like, oh, there's one next week.
Yeah, I'll just go next week
Yeah.
or later this week.
Seems like a really good cadence.
Yeah.
What are the ratios like men to women at those?
So we try to keep it pretty even,
Okay.
right? So sometimes if it's a more female dominated, we'll have a few more females. Sometimes if it's a more male dominated thing like golf, we'll have more men.
Yeah.
But we are conscientious of that, and also conscientious of the like the age groups, right? So if you're 60, you don't want to be hanging out with
Right.
22-year-olds, or rather 22-year-olds don't want to be hanging out with 38-year-olds. That's sort of a buzzkill. So we try to curate the age groups. And then we have like my partner who runs this, her name's Molly, and Molly's a runner. So she'll do a 5K, a singles only 5K, and all age groups will be invited there because it's going to be a giant group,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. No, that's cool.
And then again, like that same target, if you meet somebody who's too old for you, right, we still might be able to mix and mingle and refer people and grow our social networks. It's useful even if it's not a love connection for you.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I would love to go so deep into what makes like men attractive to women and vice versa, and like really get
Yes.
the details. So we
Another
might have
story for another
to,
time.
I know we might have to do like 2 more episodes. Like what?
Love to.
How do women get
I have
a man?
so
and
much
how do
to
men get a
say.
woman? Yeah.
Yes, I have. Like it is like, sometimes I feel like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to say, but I have worked with so many clients. Like we talk about 10,000 hours. I'm easily there, and I can troubleshoot anything, and I can like pinpoint anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love doing it.
How does it feel? Because last year in 2025, you had over 18 people get married or engaged, and you had, from previous years, people getting married, them having children.
Yeah.
How does that feel as a dating coach?
It never gets old. I just get so excited and really, like, don't tell anybody, but I would do this for free because I love it so much. I
Yeah.
don't do it for free because I need to support my family.
Yeah, you have bills.
But I've got bills to pay. But I really count myself like, I think I have the highest job satisfaction rating of anybody on earth, to be honest.
Yeah.
I can't think of anybody who would be happier with what they do than me.
Yeah. No, I love
Yeah.
that. I imagine that feels really good.
It does.
It's like you're really helping people because
Yes.
it's like a big part of life, and it can be one of the scariest parts of life as well.
Yeah. And it's just, people hire me because they don't have any other options. And they have sort of become resolute to the fact that it's not going to happen for them. So I'm the last stop on that train line. And we can more times than not solve it.
Yeah.
And I will continuously hear from them through the years, right? Well, they'll say, my daughter just got baptized and I still just think it's so great that I met my husband. I never could have done it without you. Right? Or I met my wife and I never could have, and we're so happy.
Yeah. I love
I actually
that.
have a client who he's kind of a commitment phobe.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, okay.
he was always talking to me about like really wanting to date somebody who had a dog because he loves dogs. But guess what? He didn't have his own dog. So after some time, I gently nudged him into getting a dog. And he was mad at me after it happened. And now it's been 2 years. And I just got a text from him yesterday with pictures of the dog, thanking me because the dog is the love of his life and his family loves the dog too. And they just don't know what they would do without it.
Yeah. No, that's I'm a little that way. I was actually talking to my wife about this yesterday. I'm like, man, is there something wrong with me where I can't decide on like what car I want to drive or where I want to live in the future? And I told her, I was like, the only thing I know for sure is I want to be with you. And I was like, because like
You guys are so
I
cute.
feel like I've been like just so wishy-washy on exactly like what I want to do for the rest of my life and all
Yeah.
these things. But I'm like, well, at least I've grounded in who I'm with and who I'm
Yes.
going to be raising a family with.
Yes.
And
Well, it's really,
Yeah.
you bring up a good topic and who you pick to marry is also on that list of things where there's no rights or wrongs.
yeah.
Right? Where you live, there's advantages and disadvantages to every option. What you do, advantages, disadvantages. And same thing with partners. There's always going to be another partner who could have been different and will be better and worse in some ways than another person.
Yeah.
So that's like this paradox of choice is something that comes up all the time that I help people deal with.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people I think that's why it's hard to commit because it's like, okay, if I say yes to this person, I'm saying no to all these people
Right.
and all, their collective pros and cons.
Goodness.
you
Yes.
know?
Yes.
But I think that's the overthinker in me and probably others.
Yes.
And
Yep.
you kind of just need to slap yourself in the face. And be
we
like,
do.
no
Yep.
matter what choice you make,
We do.
every yes you make is a no to something else.
Yeah, we're
And
closing
that can be a
doors.
really good thing.
Yeah, it is
You
a
know?
good thing.
Yeah.
Yes. Eventually, choosing the thing and investing in that and growing that into what you want it to be is the best option for you.
Mm-hmm.
And you can have that with anybody. You just have to choose the one.
Yes. The grass is greener where you water it,
Yes,
essentially,
it's
right?
true. Yep.
How long should someone date before they get engaged?
That's a really good question. And the research is kind of mixed on it. I don't know if there's anybody who's willing to put a calendar on it. It's very nuanced based on how long it takes both partners to open up and be really vulnerable, how long it takes them to be comfortable enough to start integrating our lives. Like, you can come hang out with my family this weekend and we're going to all go and do a road trip and you're going to be along for the ride, right? Some people keep it separate for a long time, but the length that we do that just kind of varies on how all those circumstances go and how they do it. You probably know people who met and knew they were going to marry that person and did 3 weeks later, right? And they've been married now forever. And people who've dated for where that's crashed and burned, right? Or people who have dated for years and then gotten married and then it hasn't worked out. So there's no real solid research on this is the exact like target length that you should do. The real target and the thing that is most predictive is this is one of the things that I've learned from the early years of marriage study. There are 6 like common values, like universal values, where we all care about these same 6 things, but we put them in our own order. Like this one is my top one. You might feel like one of these values is different, like your top value is different than mine. When we find a partnership that stays together and has a lasting compatibility, they tend to share the same top 2 in that priority list, right? Couples who have done that, who share the same top 2, stayed together, where if we had a different priority list, we maybe didn't make it. So that's really what is most important, is understanding our value alignment. And that also changes how you date, what you talk about on dates, what you do on dates, because we're really vetting to see how we align in those ways. And once you've got that familiarity, things can actually move pretty quickly.
So the tough answer is, it depends. Is there like a minimum that we can like give people? Like, is it like, I've always told people like, I think you should date for at least a year. go through the seasons. That gives you enough time.
Yeah,
to...
people talk about 4 seasons a lot,
Yeah.
and I think it makes a lot of sense. Here's what I worry about when clients want to rush into it, and after 3 months or 6 months, they feel like they know enough and they want to get engaged.
Yeah.
What I worry about, and this can be mitigated too, is they're showing you who they are now. Can they sustain that level of mental health, that level of empathy for you, can they sustain everything that they are showing you that they are over time? So the more time that we spend together, the more comfortable we feel that, yes, this is actually who they are. But there's other ways to validate that they are as stable as you think they are or hope they are.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what's their reputation with their friends and their family, and what's their EQ score in the community? And
do they have friends?
If they have a lot of people, or if they have a lot of friends that like they talk about, like, I don't talk to them anymore. There's some things to be reading as we're getting to know each other.
That is something like I wouldn't have thought of. I've never thought of that. I guess that's the benefit of a dating coach is it's like, here's some tricks to date, to get to the right person faster and to get out of the wrong relationship sooner too, right?
Yes.
Because I'm sure if someone's dating somebody and is in a relationship, that doesn't mean they can't hire you to help them get...
Oh, no, we do a lot of troubleshooting. So I have to be kind of careful. And when I say kind of, I mean very careful. Like, especially in the state of Utah, there's a clear line in the sand of what a coach can do and what a therapist can only do.
Right.
And so if we're talking about distressed, like relationships that aren't functioning or that are in some kind of distress, I can't touch that, right? And I sometimes that comes up, and I refer them. I have trusted partners who work, in distressed couple relationships that I value their judgment and would feel comfortable. But if it's like talking about strategy of like, how what can I do to like communicate this in the way that I want to, or develop this in the way that I want to. If it's strategy based, and it's about the future, then I'm your person to help you do that. But there is a difference between the two, and you should be skeptical of any coach that thinks they can help you through a distressed circumstance.
Yeah. There's 2 different jobs for 2 different things.
Yeah, they're different. They're different things. Yep. Dating strategy and like getting a relationship off the ground, that's my specialty. I love doing it. And there is a lot of nuance that goes on in there that isn't about mental health, that isn't about, crippling emotional dynamics. And if that happens, which it does all the time, there's solutions for that. It's just not me.
Yeah. Well, hey, we don't have a ton of time yet, but I wanted to ask you about Barbie Does Dating.
Oh, sure.
What is Barbie Does Dating?
Well, I have a podcast that I've been working with for several years. So there's a gal named Barbie who once upon a time, she was a client. She's a local gal. She's actually a wedding dress designer. And she has a very charismatic personality. So her... and her bestie, who is comedian Steve Solberg. I don't know if you're familiar with Steve, but he does comedy all over the world. And he's a Utah guy, also single. So the 2 of them are like besties. So they bring their dating stories of, being in the trenches, and I give them insight and advice, and we record it.
That sounds great. What kind of topics do you go over?
All the topics. We talk a lot about dating apps. We talk a lot about relationship dynamics and like we were talking about paradox of choice, how to make that choice. We talk about elements of personal growth and development that we need to work on ourselves. We talk about how to tell if you're in a partnership with a good person, and when it's time to invest and when it's time to cut your losses, and just we laugh until we cry sometimes.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun, a lot of stories, a lot of wasted time, if I'm being honest. Like a lot of stories that are just entertaining and that's it. But also a lot of useful things that clients uncover. I am surprised, we don't do any work on marketing or anything with this podcast. And I get people all over the country emailing me, telling me that they are listening to the show and it's made a huge difference in their life. And I had no idea these people in that place were listening or that they would care.
That's so cool. So it sounds like if you want to learn about dating and have fun while you're listening, it's not so like, here's step 1, here's step 2, here's step 3. It's like, here's a funny story about dating. Here's what you can learn from it.
Yes.
Here's what's happening this week.
Everything, all of it mixed up. Some are really emotional and deep, and others are so superficial and silly.
Yeah.
So it's a good mix.
Well, it's also going to be in the show notes. So if you're watching, click in the show notes.
Yes.
That is where you can listen to that and get a quick link right to it.
Yes.
We're about out of time, though. What if someone wants to work with you? Are you accepting clients right now?
Yeah, I am.
You are? Okay.
Yes, I am.
So how do people find you? Get some help, or do you do like a free consultation with people to see if it's even more like, does the match make sense?
Yeah. So I never want to take money before I know I'm the right fit for you, because I'm not the right fit for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to do a free consult. 30 minutes. We're going to sit down. I'm going to hear a little bit about you. I'll give you my background, and then decide if it makes sense for us to work together.
Yeah.
And in which ways we'll do that. My website is KristinSokol.com. It's Kristen with an I-N, KRISTINSOKOL. There's a contact form on there. There's also a start here, ask you a few questions about yourself. And then I will, if I feel like I'm going to be useful, I'll send you that link and we'll schedule a free consult and take it from there. Couldn't be more easy. But everybody who is single or knows a single person should have a profile on my database, because you're going to get invited to in real life curated events with high quality singles, and possibly to be matched with some of my clients or some of my colleagues' clients too.
And it's free, everybody.
And it's
just
free.
join the database.
Yes.
Do fun things.
Yes.
There's no downside to it. It sounds like just join the
it'll take you
database.
20 minutes to do, but that's the downside.
But it's also a good thing, because then not every single person is joining in. Like, you kind of want there to be some resistance there,
no bots.
So you don't have weirdos.
Yep.
No bots.
No
all
bots.
that.
No catfishers.
So,
Yep.
well, thank you so much for coming on.
For
I would
having me
seriously
in.
love to do like, what are men looking for? What are
Let's
women
do
looking
it.
for? How to do it.
I'm so down.
We'll have to do that in the future.
Yeah,
So
I'm so
stay
down.
tuned.
I can tell you my stories about, I've got a mega docuseries feature coming out in the spring.
Okay.
So there's going to be some eyeballs on
That will be cool.
that. And then I've also been doing a little bit of work with Love on the Spectrum. Have you seen Love on the Spectrum?
I've heard a lot about.
my
I've seen
favorite
clips. I haven't
show.
watched it.
I'm not a specific spectrum coach, although I do have some clients on the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
But it's my favorite show, and I've been sourcing matches for some of the cast members on there, which has been really fun. So lots of exciting stuff coming through.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, that's cool. Well, again, thanks for coming on. For everyone listening, there are links in the show notes, websites, the database, the podcast. Go check those out. And thanks for listening to Utah Daily. We'll catch you next time.